Jake Morrison stood near the viewing window of the human ship Meridian and watched the alien station grow larger. His uniform was freshly pressed, and his hands were steady, but his stomach felt tight. This was humanity's first real diplomatic mission to the Zenthari Empire, and everyone was nervous. The Zenthari controlled 17 star systems. They were warriors, traders, and builders. Humans needed them as allies. The galaxy was dangerous, and humanity was still new to space travel. Making friends with the Zenthari could mean safety for human colonies. "Looking good out there," said Captain Helen Brooks as she walked up beside him. She was his commanding officer, a woman in her 50s with gray hair and sharp eyes. "Remember, Jake, we're here to make a good impression." "Yes, ma'am," Jake said. He had been a combat pilot during the border wars against the Kryn. He had seen action, survived battles that killed better pilots than him. But this was different. This was politics, not flying. The Meridian docked at the Royal Station without trouble. The airlock opened with a hiss. Jake followed Captain Brooks and the rest of the human team through the corridor. The station was massive, built from dark metal that seemed to absorb light. Zenthari symbols glowed on the walls in soft blue. 2 Zenthari guards waited at the entrance to the reception hall. They were tall, nearly 7 feet each, with skin that looked like polished stone in shades of deep purple and gray. Their eyes were large and golden. They wore armor that seemed both ancient and advanced at the same time. "Welcome, humans," one guard said in perfect English. The Zenthari had been studying human languages for months. "Please, follow us." The reception hall was enormous. The ceiling stretched high above them, covered in what looked like stars. Jake realized they were real stars, visible through some kind of transparent dome. Dozens of Zenthari filled the room, all dressed in formal clothes that mixed robes with armor pieces. At the far end of the hall sat 3 figures on raised platforms. Jake knew who they were from the briefings. The Empress, ruler of the Zenthari Empire. Her 2 eldest daughters stood beside her throne. But Jake's attention was drawn to a 4th figure standing near them. She was younger than the others, perhaps close to Jake's own age of 32. Her skin was a lighter shade of purple, almost lavender. She wore armor that looked like it was made from silver and some kind of blue crystal. Her eyes were the brightest gold he had ever seen. "That's Princess Lyrakan," whispered one of the human diplomats, a man named Peter Grant. "Third in line to the throne. Word is she's interested in humans." Jake didn't have time to ask what that meant. Captain Brooks led them forward. They stopped before the Empress and bowed as they had practiced. "Welcome to our home," the Empress said. Her voice was deep and carried authority. "We are pleased to meet the representatives of Earth." Captain Brooks spoke for the group, giving formal greetings and thanks. Jake stood at attention, trying not to stare at anything or anyone, but he felt eyes on him. When he glanced to the side, he saw Princess Lyrakan watching him. The reception continued with speeches and formal exchanges. Food was brought out, strange dishes that the humans had been warned about. Some was safe to eat, some was not. Jake stayed close to Captain Brooks and tried to look professional. Then something unexpected happened. Princess Lyrakan stepped forward from her place beside the throne. The hall went quiet. She walked across the open floor until she stood directly in front of Jake. "You," she said, pointing at him. "You are Jake Morrison. You flew in the border wars." Jake blinked. "Yes, Your Highness." He had no idea how she knew that. "You destroyed 4 Kryn battlecruisers," she continued. "You saved a colony ship with 3,000 people. You are a warrior." "I did my duty," Jake said carefully. The princess smiled. It was not a gentle smile. It was the smile of a predator that had found something interesting. "I have made my choice," she announced loudly, turning to address the entire hall. "I claim this human, Jake Morrison, as my bonded mate. I will take him as my consort." The hall erupted. Zenthari voices rose in what sounded like approval. The humans looked shocked. Jake felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. "What?" he managed to say. Princess Lyra Khan turned back to him. "You should be honored. To bond with royalty is the highest status a warrior can achieve. You will have wealth, position, power. Your name will be remembered forever." Jake's mind raced. He had never spoken to this woman before tonight. He didn't know her, and she was talking about bonding, which the briefings had said was like marriage but more permanent. Captain Brooks stepped forward quickly. "Your Highness, this is most unexpected. We are honored, of course, but perhaps Lieutenant Commander Morrison should have time to consider." The princess looked at Captain Brooks like she was an insect. "Consider? Why would he need to consider? I have chosen him. That is the honor." "In human culture," Captain Brooks said carefully, "such decisions are made by both people together." The Empress spoke from her throne. "My daughter has the right to choose her consort, but we will allow the human his time to think. 3 days. That is fair." Princess Lyra Khan nodded, though she looked annoyed. 3 days. But the answer will be yes. It must be yes. She turned and walked back to her place, her armor clinking softly with each step. The reception continued, but Jake barely noticed. Other humans kept glancing at him. Some looked excited, others looked worried. Peter Grant leaned over and whispered, "Do you know what this means? An alliance with the royal family? This could secure everything we need." Jake said nothing. He felt numb. Later, back on the Meridian, Captain Brooks called him to her office. She sat behind her desk and looked at him for a long moment. "This is a golden opportunity," she said finally. "I know it's sudden. I know it's not what you expected. But think about what this means for humanity. The Zenthari Empire would become our strongest ally. We would have access to their trade routes, their technology, their military support." "She doesn't know me," Jake said quietly. "She just knows I was in the war." "Maybe that's enough for her," Captain Brooks replied. "The Zenthari value warriors. You're a hero to them. She wants that." "I'm not a trophy," Captain Brooks sighed. "No, you're not, but you're a soldier. Sometimes soldiers have to make sacrifices for the greater good. I'm not ordering you to say yes, but I'm asking you to think about it seriously. Think about what's at stake." Jake left the office feeling worse than before. He went to his quarters and sat on his bunk. His personal pad chimed. A message from his sister, Amy, back on Earth. She had seen the news somehow. It traveled fast. "Jake, what's happening? Are you okay? Call me when you can." He didn't call. He didn't know what to say. How could he explain that an alien princess wanted to marry him and everyone expected him to agree? How could he explain that he felt trapped? Jake lay back on his bunk and stared at the ceiling. 3 days. He had 3 days to decide if he would give up his life, his career, his home, everything he knew. 3 days to decide if he would become someone's consort. The armor the princess wore had been beautiful. He wondered if they would give him armor, too. He wondered what it would feel like to wear it. He wondered if it would be heavy. The next morning, Jake received a message. Princess Lyra Khan wanted to see him. A shuttle would take him to the palace on the Zenthari homeworld below. Captain Brooks said he should go. The diplomats said he should go. Everyone said he should go. So he went. The shuttle ride was quiet. 2 Zenthari guards accompanied him, but they didn't speak. Jake watched the planet grow larger through the window. It looked blue and green, not so different from Earth, but the cities were strange, built in spirals that reached toward the sky. The palace sat on top of a mountain. It was made of the same dark metal as the station, but here it was mixed with white stone. Gardens surrounded it, full of plants Jake had never seen before. Some glowed softly. Others moved when he walked past, tracking him with leaves that looked like eyes. Princess Lyra Khan waited in a courtyard filled with fountains. She wore less armor today, just pieces on her shoulders and arms. The rest was flowing fabric in deep blue. She smiled when she saw him. "Jake Morrison," she said, "welcome to my home. Come, let me show you what will be yours." She took his hand before he could respond. Her skin was warm and smooth. She led him through halls decorated with weapons and tapestries. She showed him rooms filled with treasures from across the empire. She showed him a library with books and data crystals from 100 worlds. "When we are bonded," she said, "you will have access to all of this. You will want for nothing. Your family on Earth will be honored. Your sister, Amy, will receive gifts and position." Jake stopped walking. "You know about my sister?" "Of course. I learned everything about you. You were born in Denver. Your father was a teacher. Your mother died when you were young. You joined the military at 20. You became a pilot. You nearly died 3 times in combat. You saved many lives." She said it all like she was reciting facts. "You are brave. You are strong. You are worthy." "Worthy of what?" Jake asked. "Of me," she said simply. "Come. There is more to see." She showed him a room that would be his quarters. It was larger than his entire apartment on Earth. The bed alone could fit 5 people. The walls had windows that showed the gardens outside. A balcony overlooked the mountains. "This is where you will live," Princess Lyra Khan said. "When we bond, you will be part of the royal family. You will attend state functions. You will represent the empire. Important people will seek your favor." "What about my work?" Jake asked. "I'm a pilot. I'm a soldier." She laughed. "You will not need to work. Your position will be here with me. You will be my consort. That is your purpose." Something about the way she said purpose made Jake's stomach tight again. "I see. Are you not pleased?" She moved closer to him. "Most would give anything for this chance. To bond with royalty is the highest honor. You will be envied across 17 star systems." "It's a lot to take in," Jake said carefully. She studied him with those golden eyes. "You are uncertain. I do not understand this. Among my people, when honor is offered, it is accepted. To refuse would be unthinkable." "Humans are different," Jake said. "We need time to think about big decisions." 3 days, she said. "That is your time. But use it wisely. This offer will not come again." That afternoon, Jake was given a tour by one of the palace guards. The guard's name was Kethmar, and he spoke better English than most. He was older than the other guards, with scars on his arms and a limp in his left leg. "You are troubled," Kethmar said as they walked through an armory. "I can see it." "Is it that obvious?" Jake asked. "To someone who looks, yes." Kethmar picked up a ceremonial blade and examined it. "The princess has chosen you. This is a great honor. Everyone keeps saying that. But you do not feel honored." It wasn't a question. Jake was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I feel like a prize someone won. She doesn't know me. She knows facts about me. That's not the same thing." Kethmar set the blade down. "You are right. It is not the same thing." He looked around to make sure they were alone. "May I speak freely?" "Please." "I have served in this palace for 30 years. I have seen 4 consorts come to live here. 3 are still here. 1 left in disgrace." "What happened to them?" Jake asked. "They changed. At first they were happy with the honor and the gifts, but slowly they became different. They stopped being who they were. They became decorations. Beautiful things for the royals to display." Kethmar's voice was sad. The one who left could not stand it. He tried to keep his old life, his old work. The princess at that time would not allow it. So he left, and his name was erased from our records. Jake felt cold despite the warm air. And the others? They accepted their roles. They smile at functions. They wear their armor. But their eyes are empty. They forgot who they were before they became consorts. "Why are you telling me this?" Jake asked. Kethmar looked at him directly. "Because you remind me of my son. He died in battle, fighting with honor. He knew who he was until the end. I would not want to see another warrior lose himself, even for great honor." That evening, Jake was given the ceremonial armor. 3 attendants brought it to his quarters in a case made of crystal. They laid each piece out on a table, explaining what each one meant. The chest plate represented strength. The arm guards represented skill. The leg plates represented endurance. Each piece was covered in engravings that told stories of ancient Zenthari warriors. The metal was light but strong, some alloy Jake didn't recognize. "This is made specifically for you," one attendant said. "Princess Lyra Khan designed it herself. It is a gift to show her commitment." After they left, Jake put on the armor piece by piece. It fit perfectly, moving with him like a second skin. He looked at himself in a mirror. He looked impressive. He looked powerful. He looked like someone else. The armor was beautiful, but it felt wrong. It wasn't his. It represented a life he hadn't chosen. Every piece he put on felt like he was putting on a costume, pretending to be someone he wasn't. Jake took the armor off and sat on the edge of the enormous bed. His personal pad chimed. Another message from Amy. This time he answered. Her face appeared on the screen. She was smiling, but it looked forced. "Jake, finally, are you okay? The news is going crazy. They're saying you're going to marry an alien princess." "They want me to," Jake said. Amy's smile faded. "Do you want to?" Jake was quiet. "Jake," Amy said softly, "you look different. You look tired." "I am tired." "What does she want from you?" his sister asked. "She wants me to be her consort, live here, be part of her life, give up everything else." "And what do you want?" Jake looked at the armor sitting on the table. "I don't know. Everyone says this is a great opportunity. For me, for humanity, for everyone. Captain Brooks says it could secure our future. The diplomats say it would create an alliance we desperately need." "That's what everyone else wants," Amy said. "What do you want?" "I want to be able to make my own choices." "Then make one," his sister said. "Don't let them change who you are, Jake. Not even for something that looks like gold." After the call ended, Jake stood on the balcony and looked out at the Zenthari city below. Lights were coming on as night fell. It was beautiful, alien, but beautiful. He thought about what Kethmar had said, about warriors who lost themselves, about empty eyes and forgotten identities. He thought about the armor waiting inside, about what it would mean to wear it, about what it would mean to be Princess Lyra Khan's consort. She had called it his purpose. But was it? Or was it her purpose for him? Jake had always been a soldier. He followed orders, he did his duty, he made sacrifices for the greater good. But this felt different. This wasn't about sacrifice. This was about erasing himself and becoming something else, someone else. The next day, Princess Lyra Khan took him to meet other consorts. There were 2 at the palace that day. One was bonded to the Empress's eldest daughter. The other was bonded to a high-ranking noble. They were polite. They smiled. They spoke about their comfortable lives and their important positions. But Jake saw what Kethmar had meant. Their eyes were empty. They spoke like they were reciting lines they had memorized. When Princess Lyra Khan wasn't looking, Jake asked one of them quietly, "Are you happy?" The consort looked at him with surprise. Then something flickered in his eyes, something real. "I have everything I could want," he said. But the way he said it sounded like he was trying to convince himself. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about 3 days becoming 3 years becoming 30 years. He kept thinking about his eyes going empty. he kept thinking about forgetting who Jake Morrison was. On the second day, the preparations began. Princess Lyra Khan had decided Jake would accept. She never actually asked him, just assumed. Everyone else assumed too. The palace staff measured him for formal robes. They taught him Zenthari customs he would need to know. They showed him how to bow, how to speak to nobility, how to stand at formal events. One instructor corrected his posture 6 times in 10 minutes. "A royal consort must be perfect," the instructor said. "You represent the princess. Everything you do reflects on her." Jake felt like he was being trained for a performance, not a life, a role in a play that would never end. Princess Lyra Khan brought him to a meeting with the Empress. The throne room was even more impressive than the reception hall. The Empress sat on a throne made of black stone that seemed to absorb light. Her 2 eldest daughters stood on either side. "So this is the human who has captured my daughter's attention," the Empress said. Her voice echoed in the large space. "Jake Morrison, war hero, pilot, survivor." "Your Majesty," Jake said, bowing as he had been taught. "My daughter tells me you are still considering her offer. This surprises me. Among our people, such honor is never questioned." "I mean no disrespect," Jake said carefully. "Humans approach such decisions differently." Clearly. The Empress studied him like a scientist studying a specimen. "But you will accept. The alliance between our peoples depends on it. Your Captain Brooks understands this. Your diplomatic team understands this. Surely you understand this as well." Jake felt the weight of her words. She wasn't asking. She was telling him what was expected, what was required. "The ceremony will be broadcast across the Empire," the Empress continued. "Billions will watch. It will show that humans and Zenthari can unite. It will show strength." After the meeting, Princess Lyra Khan took Jake to her private garden. It was beautiful, filled with flowers that changed colors in the light. A stream ran through it, water flowing over smooth rocks. "My mother is pleased," the princess said. "She sees the value in our bonding. You will bring honor to your species." "What about love?" Jake asked suddenly. Princess Lyra Khan looked at him with confusion. "Love?" "Yes. Don't you want to bond with someone you love? Someone you actually know?" She laughed, but it wasn't mean, just puzzled. "Love is for common people who have nothing else. We are not common. We have duty, honor, position. Those matter more than feelings." "They don't matter more to me," Jake said quietly. The princess frowned. "You are strange. But that is why you interest me. You are different from other humans I have met. You are stronger, braver. You survived battles that should have killed you. That strength is what I want." "You want my reputation," Jake said. "Yes. And what is wrong with that? You want my position, my wealth, my power. We trade. That is how bonding works." "But I don't want those things," Jake said. Princess Lyra Khan stared at him. "Then what do you want?" "I want to be myself. I want to make my own choices. I want to matter because of who I am, not because of whose consort I am." She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "That is foolish. Position is everything. Without it, you are nothing." That afternoon, Jake found Kethmar again. The old guard was training younger warriors in the palace courtyard. He finished the session and walked over to Jake. "You look worse than yesterday," Kethmar said. "I feel worse than yesterday," Jake replied. They walked through the palace grounds. Kethmar led him to a memorial garden where statues honored Zenthari who had died with honor. Each statue had a name and a description of how they had served. "These warriors are remembered," Kethmar said, "not because they married well, not because they gained position, but because they stayed true to their purpose. They knew who they were." Jake read the descriptions. Soldiers who defended colonies, scientists who cured diseases, explorers who found new worlds, all of them had done something that mattered. "When you wear armor that is not yours," Kethmar said softly, "can you still stand straight?" Jake looked at him. "What?" "It is something my son said once. He was offered a position in the Royal Guard. Great honor, good pay. But he would have to give up field duty. He would have to stand in halls and look impressive instead of protecting people. He asked me, 'Father, if I wear armor that is just for show, can I still stand straight? Or will I be bent under the weight of pretending?' What did he do? He refused the position. He stayed in the field. He saved many lives before he died. And when he died, he was himself. Not a decoration, not a showpiece. Himself." Jake felt something break inside him. Or maybe it was something coming together. "I can't do this," he said. "I can't be what she wants me to be." Kethmar nodded slowly. "I know. Everyone expects me to say yes, my captain, my crew, the diplomats, the princess, the empress, everyone." "What do you expect from yourself?" Kethmar asked. Jake didn't answer. He didn't know how to. That evening, Captain Brooks called him back to the Meridian for a meeting. The entire diplomatic team was there. They sat around a conference table, all looking at Jake. "Tomorrow is the third day," Captain Brooks said. "The ceremony is planned for tomorrow evening. We need to know your decision." "You mean you need me to say yes?" Jake said. "We need you to think about what's at stake," Peter Grant said. "This alliance could save human colonies. It could open trade routes. It could give us military support if the Kryn attack again. One decision from you could change everything for humanity. By making me into someone I'm not? By making you into someone important," another diplomat said. "Someone who matters on the galactic stage." Jake stood up. "I already matter. I mattered when I saved that colony ship. I mattered when I fought in the war. I matter because I'm a human being with value, not because an alien princess decided I would look good standing next to her." Captain Brooks held up a hand. "Jake, sit down, please." He sat. "I understand this is hard," she said, her voice softer. "I do. But sometimes being a soldier means doing hard things. You've faced enemy fire. You've made life and death decisions in combat. This is just another mission." "No," Jake said. "In combat I might die, but I would die as myself. This isn't asking me to risk my life. It's asking me to give it up." The room was silent. "If you refuse," Peter Grant said finally, "the Zenthari will be insulted. The alliance might fall apart. Earth's government will not be happy with you." "I know," Jake said. "You could be court-martialed for damaging diplomatic relations." "I know." Captain Brooks rubbed her eyes. She suddenly looked very tired. "Go back to your quarters. Think about it. Really think about it. We'll talk again in the morning." Jake returned to his quarters on the Meridian. He sat on his bunk and looked at his hands. They were steady hands. A pilot's hands, a soldier's hands. His hands. He thought about the ceremonial armor waiting for him at the palace. He thought about putting it on tomorrow. He thought about standing in front of billions of viewers promising to be Princess Lyra Khan's consort. He thought about 30 years from now, standing in palace halls with empty eyes. He thought about forgetting what it felt like to fly, to fight, to choose his own path. He thought about his sister saying, "Don't let them change who you are." He thought about Kethmar's son, dying as himself. He thought about the statues in the memorial garden, warriors who were remembered for what they did, not who they married. Jake stood up and walked to his locker. He pulled out his dress uniform. The fabric was simple compared to the ceremonial armor. Just dark blue with some medals on the chest. Nothing fancy, nothing false. He laid it out on his bunk. Tomorrow he would wear this. Not the armor. This. His personal pad chimed. A message from Princess Lyra Khan. "I am excited for tomorrow. You will look magnificent in your armor. Everyone will see that I have chosen well. Sleep well, my future consort." Jake read the message 3 times. She was excited about how he would look, about how his appearance would reflect on her. Not about knowing him better, not about building a life together, just about the show. He typed a reply, then deleted it, then typed another, then deleted that too. Finally, he just turned the pad off. He lay on his bunk in the dark. Tomorrow would change everything. One way or another, tomorrow would be the day he stood straight or bent under the weight of armor that wasn't his. Jake closed his eyes. He knew what he had to do. He had known for a while, maybe since the first moment he put on that ceremonial armor and didn't recognize himself in the mirror. Tomorrow he would walk into that ceremony. Tomorrow he would stand in front of billions. And tomorrow he would show them who Jake Morrison really was. The morning of the ceremony arrived with clear skies. Jake woke early before the sun rose over the Zenthari Palace. He stood on the balcony of his quarters and watched the city below start to wake up. Lights came on in buildings, ships began moving through the sky. Life continued. A message came from Captain Brooks. "Final meeting in 1 hour. Conference room. Be there." Jake dressed in his simple uniform and made his way to the Meridian. The ship felt more like home than the palace ever had. The narrow corridors, the smell of recycled air, the hum of the engines. This was familiar. This was real. The diplomatic team waited in the conference room. They all looked at him when he entered. Captain Brooks gestured to a chair. "Today's the day," she said. "In 6 hours, the ceremony begins. The Zenthari expect an answer. Actually, they expect a yes. The whole empire is watching. Half the human colonies are watching. This is the biggest moment in human-alien relations since first contact." Peter Grant leaned forward. "Jake, we've arranged everything. The Alliance Treaty is ready to sign right after the bonding. Trade agreements, military cooperation, technology sharing. All of it depends on this ceremony going well." "No pressure," Jake said quietly. "This is bigger than you," another diplomat said. "This is about humanity's future in space. We need allies. We need the Zenthari. And they're offering us everything on a silver plate. All you have to do is say yes." Jake looked at each of them. They were good people. They believed what they were saying. They truly thought this was best for everyone. "What if I say no?" he asked. The room went silent. Captain Brooks spoke carefully. "If you say no, the Zenthari will view it as an insult. Princess Lyra Khan will be humiliated in front of her entire empire. The Empress will be angry. The Alliance will probably fall apart. Earth's government will demand to know why. And you will likely face charges for damaging diplomatic relations." "So I have no choice," Jake said. "You have a choice," Captain Brooks said. "But one choice has much better consequences than the other. For everyone but me." She looked at him for a long moment. "Yes, for everyone but you. But that's what soldiers do, Jake. We put the mission first. We put others first. You've done it before. You can do it again." "In combat, I risked my life. I didn't give it away." "You're not dying," Peter Grant said, frustrated. "You're being offered wealth, position, and power. Most people would kill for this opportunity." "Then let them have it," Jake said, standing up. "I need to get ready." He left the conference room. Behind him, he heard them talking in worried voices, but he didn't look back. The shuttle took Jake to the palace 2 hours before the ceremony. Attendants waited to help him dress. The ceremonial armor had been polished until it gleamed. Each piece was laid out in order. Princess Lyra Khan came to see him as the attendants worked. She wore an elaborate gown covered in crystals that caught the light. She looked beautiful and proud. "Today you become mine," she said, smiling. "Today the Empire sees that I have chosen the finest warrior among humans. Your bravery, your strength, they will be added to my legacy." Jake said nothing as the attendants fitted the chest plate onto him. "You are quiet," the princess observed. "Are you nervous?" "Something like that," Jake replied. "There is no need. Simply stand beside me, repeat the bonding words, and it will be done. Then you will have everything. Position, wealth, respect. Your family will be honored. Your name will be known across 17 star systems." An attendant brought the final piece of the armor, the helmet. It was beautiful, engraved with scenes of battles and victories, but it had no face, just a smooth surface that would cover Jake's own face completely. "This represents the joining," one attendant explained. "When you wear this, your old identity ends. Your new identity as royal consort begins." Jake took the helmet and turned it over in his hands. He could see his reflection in the polished metal, distorted and unclear. "I will see you at the ceremony," Princess Lyra Khan said. She touched his shoulder, a gesture that seemed almost affectionate. "Do not be afraid. You are becoming something greater than you were." After she left, Jake stood alone in the preparation room. He was covered in the ceremonial armor except for the helmet. He looked at himself in the full-length mirror. The armor fit perfectly. It was light but strong. The engravings told stories of ancient warriors. It was a masterpiece of Zenthari craftsmanship, and it felt completely wrong. Jake looked at the helmet in his hands. Once he put this on, he would walk into the ceremony hall. He would stand before billions of viewers. He would speak the bonding words. And Jake Morrison, the pilot from Denver, the soldier who saved a colony ship, would cease to exist. He would become Princess Lyra Khan's consort, a decoration, a trophy, a showpiece. Kethmar's words echoed in his mind. "When you wear armor that is not yours, can you still stand straight?" Jake set the helmet down. He looked at his reflection again. Then he reached up and began removing the chest plate. An attendant rushed forward. "What are you doing? The ceremony begins in 30 minutes. "I know," Jake said calmly. He removed the arm guards next. "But you must wear the armor. It is tradition. The princess designed it for you." Jake continued removing pieces, setting each one carefully on the table. "Tell the princess I will be at the ceremony, but I will wear my own uniform." The attendant looked horrified. "That is not possible. You cannot appear before the Empress in simple clothes. It is disrespectful." "Then I am disrespectful," Jake said. He removed the last piece of armor and stood in his underclothes. "Please leave. I need to dress." The attendant fled. Jake could hear him shouting for help in the corridor, but Jake had locked the door. He had a few minutes. He put on his dress uniform, the same one he had worn when he first arrived at the Zenthari station. Dark blue, simple, with medals for his service. It was nothing compared to the ceremonial armor, but it was his. Jake looked at himself in the mirror. This was who he was, not a decorated warrior in alien armor. Just a human soldier who had done his duty and tried to do right. Someone pounded on the door. Voices shouted in Zenthari. They were angry, confused, demanding he open the door. Jake took a deep breath. Then he unlocked the door and stepped out. The corridor was filled with attendants, guards, and palace officials. They all stared at him in his simple uniform. One of them stepped forward. "You cannot go to the ceremony like this. Where is your armor?" "I'm not wearing it," Jake said calmly. "The princess will be furious." "I know." They tried to stop him, but Jake walked past them. His heart was pounding, but his steps were steady. Guards moved to block his path, but Kethmar appeared from a side corridor. "Let him pass," Kethmar said quietly. "But he must wear the armor." "Let him pass," Kethmar repeated, and something in his voice made them step aside. Kethmar walked beside Jake toward the ceremony hall. "You have made your choice," the old guard said. "Yes. It will not be easy. I know. You may lose everything." Jake smiled slightly. "Or I might keep the only thing that matters." They reached the entrance to the ceremony hall. Jake could hear music inside, the sounds of thousands of gathered Zenthari. The ceremony was beginning. "Walk straight," Keith Marr said. "Whatever happens, walk straight." Jake nodded. Then he stepped through the entrance. The hall was even more crowded than the first reception. Zenthari nobility filled every space. Cameras floated in the air, capturing everything. At the far end, the Empress sat on her throne. Princess Lyra Khan stood before her in her crystal gown, waiting. Everyone turned to look at Jake as he entered. A murmur ran through the crowd. He was supposed to be wearing the ceremonial armor. He was supposed to look magnificent. Instead, he walked down the long hall in his simple blue uniform. The murmur grew louder. Shocked. Confused. Angry. Princess Lyra Khan saw him and her golden eyes went wide. Her face shifted from anticipation to confusion to fury in seconds. Jake walked steadily down the hall. Every eye was on him. Every camera followed him. Billions watched across the Empire and across human space. He reached the front and stood before the Empress and the Princess. He bowed respectfully. "Where is your armor?" Princess Lyra Khan demanded. Her voice shook with anger and humiliation. Jake met her eyes. "I'm not wearing it." The hall erupted in shocked voices. The Empress raised a hand, and silence fell immediately. "Explain yourself, human," the Empress commanded. Jake spoke clearly, his voice carrying across the hall. "Your Majesty, Princess Lyra Khan honored me with her choice. She offered me position, wealth, and power. She offered me a place in your empire. This is indeed a great honor." "Then where is your armor?" the princess repeated. Jake turned to face her directly. "Your Highness, you honor me beyond measure, but I cannot be what you need me to be." "What do you mean?" Jake gestured to the armor he was supposed to be wearing, the armor that now sat unused in the preparation room. "This armor is beautiful, but it is not mine, and if I wear it, I will not be me anymore." The ceremony hall remained silent. Princess Lyra Khan stared at Jake, her expression shifting from anger to something else. Hurt, perhaps, or disbelief. "You are refusing me," she said quietly. "In front of the entire empire, you are refusing me." "I am not refusing you," Jake said gently. "I am refusing to become someone I am not." "There is a difference." "There is no difference," the princess's voice rose. "I chose you. I offered you everything. How dare you humiliate me like this?" Jake took a breath. He was aware of the thousands watching in the hall, the billions watching on screens across the empire. His career was over. His life as he knew it was finished. But his words came clear and honest. "You chose what I represent," he said. "A human war hero, a brave pilot, someone who would make you look good. You never chose me. You never asked what I wanted. You never asked who I am beyond the facts you learned." "That does not matter." Princess Lyra Khan took a step toward him. "Position is what matters. Honor is what matters." "To you," Jake said. "Not to me. I did not come to the stars to become someone's trophy. None of us did. Humans explore space to find new worlds, to learn, to grow, not to be collected like prizes." The Empress stood from her throne. The movement silenced the hall instantly. She walked down the steps until she stood level with Jake and her daughter. "You reject my daughter's bonding offer," the Empress said. It was not a question. "I do, Your Majesty. With respect, but I do. You understand what this means. The alliance between our peoples may fail. Your government will be furious. You may face punishment." "I understand." "Then why?" The Empress studied him with her ancient eyes. "Why throw away such opportunity?" Jake met her gaze steadily. "Because if I accept, I lose myself. And without myself, I have nothing worth keeping. Your Majesty, I have fought in wars. I have faced death. But I have always known who I was." If I put on that armor and speak those bonding words, I will not know anymore. I will be whatever the princess wants me to be. And that is not strength. That is surrender. The Empress was quiet for a long moment. Then she turned to her daughter. Lyra Khan, what say you? The princess looked at Jake with eyes that blazed with anger and shame. He insults me. He insults our traditions. He should be punished. He speaks his truth, the Empress said. Is that not also our tradition? Do we not value warriors who know their purpose? His purpose should be serving me. Should it? The Empress looked back at Jake. Or did you simply decide his purpose without asking if he agreed? Princess Lyra Khan opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time, she seemed uncertain. From somewhere in the crowd, Keth Mar's voice called out. I witnessed such certainty before. My son knew his purpose. He refused position to stay true to himself. He is honored now in the memorial garden. Not because he sought glory, but because he knew who he was. Other voices murmured in the crowd. Some sounded angry, but others sounded thoughtful. An elderly Zenthari stepped forward from the nobles. He wore medals that marked him as a veteran of many campaigns. I am General Torvek, he announced. I have fought in 40 battles across 20 years. I recognize something in this human. What do you recognize? The Empress asked. Courage, the general said. Not the courage to face weapons. The courage to face expectations. To stand before power and say no. This is rare. This is worth respect. More murmurs ran through the crowd. Jake stood still, aware that everything balanced on a knife's edge. He might be arrested. He might start a war. He might destroy everything the diplomats had worked for. But he stood straight. Princess Lyra Khan's voice was quieter now. You truly will not bond with me. I cannot, Jake said. Not like this. Not when you see me as a prize instead of a person. I thought you would be honored. I know you did, and that is the problem. You never asked what would honor me. You just assumed. The princess looked away. I wanted the finest human warrior. I wanted to show my worth by choosing you. I am not a way to prove your worth, Jake said. You have your own worth, and I have mine. But they are separate. A long silence stretched across the hall. Then Princess Lyra Khan spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. You are saying I never truly saw you. Yes. She looked at him, really looked at him, perhaps for the first time. And now? Do I see you now? Now you see someone who would rather walk away with nothing than stay and lose himself. The princess closed her eyes. When she opened them, something had changed in her expression. The anger was gone. In its place was something almost like understanding. You showed me something today, she said slowly. You showed me that love cannot be a conquest, that people are not trophies to be won. She turned to the crowd. I chose wrong, not in choosing this human, but in how I chose. I never asked. I only took. The Empress nodded slowly. A difficult lesson, but an important one. Princess Lyra Khan looked at Jake one more time. I release you from the bonding offer. You are free. And I apologize for trying to cage you. The hall erupted in shocked voices again. Zenthari did not apologize easily. A princess apologizing to a human was nearly unheard of. Jake bowed to her. Thank you, Your Highness. I hope you find someone who truly fits that armor. Perhaps I will design different armor next time, she said with a slight smile. Armor that allows the wearer to remain themselves. The Empress raised her hand for silence. The bonding will not proceed. However, let it be known across the empire that this human showed honor today. He knew who he was and did not bend. That is strength. That is worthy of respect. General Torvek stepped forward again. Your Majesty, if I may speak. Proceed, What this human did shows something important. Humans are not lesser beings to be collected or controlled. They are equals, partners. They have their own strength, their own purpose. Perhaps our alliance should be built on this truth, not on bonding and subordination. Other voices in the crowd agreed. Jake watched as the conversation shifted. What had seemed like disaster was becoming something else, something unexpected. The Empress listened to her people for several minutes. Then she turned to Jake. You came here for a diplomatic mission. You may have accomplished more than your diplomats planned. Go. We will speak again, but under different circumstances. Jake bowed and turned to leave. As he walked back down the long hall, the crowd parted. Some Zenthari looked angry, others looked thoughtful. A few, including Kethmar, nodded with respect. Captain Brooks met Jake at the entrance, her face pale. "What have you done?" she whispered. "I stayed myself," Jake said simply. Back on the Meridian, the diplomatic team was in chaos. Half of them wanted Jake arrested immediately. The other half were receiving messages from Earth trying to figure out what had happened. But then something strange occurred. Messages started coming from the Zenthari government. Not threats, not demands. Instead, requests for new negotiations, suggestions for a different kind of alliance. One based on mutual respect between equals, not on bonding between dominant and subordinate. Over the following days, the conversations continued. General Torvek became a strong voice for human-Zenthari cooperation. He argued that Jake's courage showed humans deserve to be treated as partners, not prizes. Others in the Zenthari government agreed. The incident at the ceremony had sparked something. A conversation about how they related to other species, about what true strength meant. Princess Lyra Khan sent Jake a message. "You taught me something I needed to learn. Thank you. I hope we can speak again someday. As friends rather than bonded partners," Jake sent a reply. "I would like that, Your Highness. You have your own strength. You don't need anyone else's to prove it." A week later, a new treaty was signed. It was different from what the diplomats had originally planned. It gave humans more autonomy, more respect, more voice in decisions. The Zenthari agreed to treat humanity as true equals. Captain Brooks called Jake to her office. He expected anger. Instead, she looked tired. "You could have destroyed everything," she said. "I know. But you didn't. Somehow you made it better." She shook her head. "I pressured you to accept. I put the mission before your well-being. I am sorry for that. You were trying to do what you thought was best. So were you." Captain Brooks leaned back in her chair. "Earth's government doesn't know whether to give you a medal or a court-martial, so they are doing neither. You are being reassigned to the new liaison office between humans and Zenthari. Someone needs to help our people understand each other. Apparently you are good at that." Jake felt surprised. "I thought I would be in trouble." "You are in trouble, but you are also useful." She almost smiled. "Go. Pack your things. Your new assignment starts next week." Jake left her office and went to his quarters. A message waited from Amy. "Jake, I saw what you did. It is all over the news. You walked away from a princess. Everyone is talking about it. Are you okay?" He sent a reply. "I am okay. I stayed me. That is what matters." Her response came quickly. "I am proud of you. You did not let them change you." Jake sat on his bunk and looked out the window at the Zenthari planet below. He thought about the ceremonial armor sitting unused in the palace. Beautiful armor that would have crushed him under its weight. He thought about walking down that hall in his simple uniform, about standing before thousands and saying no. He thought about Princess Lyra Khan's final words, about her learning that people were not prizes. The door chimed. Kethmar stood in the corridor. "May I come in?" the old guard asked. "Of course." Kethmar entered and stood looking at the planet below. You did what my son did. You knew who you were and did not bend. It was not easy. Important things rarely are. Kethmar turned to him. I brought you something. Permission to enter the memorial garden whenever you visit. You earned a place there, in spirit if not in stone. Jake felt honored. Thank you. No, thank you. You reminded us that armor is only valuable if the person inside remains whole. Kethmar clasped Jake's shoulder. Walk straight, my friend. Always walk straight. After Kethmar left, Jake stood on the observation deck. Other crew members passed by, some nodding to him with respect. Word had spread about what he had done, about how he had walked away from everything and somehow made things better. Peter Grant approached, looking uncomfortable. Morrison, I owe you an apology. I pushed you to accept without thinking about the cost to you personally. That was wrong. You were doing your job. So were you. And you did it better. Peter extended his hand. For what it is worth, I think you are the bravest person I have ever met. They shook hands. That evening, Jake received one final message. From Princess Lyra Khan. Jake Morrison, I have been thinking about what you said, about seeing people as people, not as prizes. I am learning. It is difficult to change how I was taught to think, but I am trying. Perhaps someday I will meet someone and ask them what they want instead of telling them. Thank you for the lesson. It was painful, but necessary. Jake smiled and sent a reply. Your Highness, the fact that you are trying means you are already succeeding. I wish you well. He stood at the window watching the stars. The armor was gone. The pressure was gone. The expectations were gone. All that remained was Jake Morrison, a pilot from Denver, a soldier who had done his duty, a human who had walked away from a princess with his armor taken off and his pride intact. He did not have wealth. He did not have power. He did not have position, but he had himself. And that was enough.